All right, party people. Once again, this is Dr. Robinson with my top five, really top 10 or 15, and maybe even more of lyricists in hip hop. Now, the reason why I want to do it this way is because it addresses some of the age old questions we have as hip hop heads. Who is in your top five? For me personally, because of my history with hip hop and my love of lyricism, I can never do a top five because majority of those spots have already been solidified since about 1987, 88. So what I've given is my top 10 or maybe 15 or more of people who I think are just top-notch lyricists in hip-hop. So before I go there, I'm going to do the one thing that very few people do in these kinds of debates and arguments, and that's give my criteria for the top 5 or top 10, 15 lyricists in hip-hop. And once again, remember, this is Dr. Robinson's top 5, not yours. So keep that in mind as we go forward. But if you have a top 5 or a criteria, then once again, share yours rather than argue and debate. All right. So first thing is my criteria. So my criteria for top 5 or top lyricists is your flow or complexity of words, which means your cadence, how you flow, how you put things together, just how you enter and exit your rhymes. Of course, then the next one is the use of literary elements. And once again, we talk about all those things that you supposedly learn in your English classes in about the 7th grade. And then, of course, content. Does your content show growth, evolution? Does your content improve society? Does it improve our conditions? Does it speak to your people? All right. So, and I said that in my criteria early on, that because of that, there are a lot of artists that you like, that I like as well. But because of their content, I could never put them in my listing. So if you don't see Biggie, if you don't see Big L, if you don't see Ice Cube, if you don't see any of those people whose content never grew, partially because they did not live long enough to have them grow, then don't be surprised. Remember, part of my criteria is content. So let's go. So my first one, of course, is the God MC, Rakim. It goes without saying that in hip-hop lyricism, there are 2 eras, pre-Rakim, post-Rakim. If you remember pre-Rakim, everyone was yelling. Everyone was raw and all that kind of stuff. Rakim came along, and some could argue, of course, Tila Rock, things like that, and I give you that. But Rakim slowed it down, but also changed the rhyming schemes. So it wasn't just A, B, A, B, A, B. It was rhymes within rhymes. So it was A, B, A, B, A, C, C, D, C. You know, it was multiple layered, multi-syllabic rhyming schemes. So once again, that is the reason why he is my number 1, and I will name that. Not to mention then the use of his literary elements, his cadences, his entrance. I mean, he has lines that are quotables forever. In fact, there are very few respected lyricists who have not borrowed a Rakim line. So once again, that is why he is number 1 in my books, and for me, not debatable. Number 2, of course, Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Kane was the chief master of cadence, of entering in the rhymes and exiting the rhymes to a point of supremacy. And during that time period when he came through, and this was about 87, 88, no one could do it better than him, with the exception of course, Rakim. But it was always a debate between them 2 neck and neck as to who would be what. But Rakim, ultimate lyricist, ultimate performer, cool persona, and once again captured that spirit of when lyricism changed to coolness, to flows, to multiple rhymes within one. He could also speed it up too. That's what also made him a classic. If you ever check out Warm It Up Kane and things like that, you see that classic speeding of rhymes that he could actually do that very few people could. Next, of course, KRS-One. KRS-One, from the Boogie Down production days to even current times, as he's still on tour, still doing his thing, has always been one for lyricism, freestyle, stage performance, content, flow and cadence, things like that. If you know, if ever been to a BDP show or a KRS-One show, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. But once again, if you go back to the Criminal Minded album, Elementary, Poetry, all of those words, if you put all of those songs in connection with what else was going on pre that album and post that album, you'll see why he is a legendary artist and deserving of being anybody's top. Next, Melly Mel. Now, some of you may disagree, and I say it's probably an age thing. Melly Mel came from that era where people yelled and hurrah because he was known for that. But if you actually go back and listen to Melly Mel's lyrics, they were profound, they had content, they had flow, they had complexity, they were serious, they were critical. If you listen to Beat Street Breakdown and just really listen to the song, if you listen to his verse and the message, or in White Lines, things like that, Melly Mel had stuff to say and also had a great way of saying it. So he was legendary in that sense. And if you don't appreciate and respect that level of rap, then maybe hip-hop wasn't for you. Maybe you need to stick with what you do now. But once again, Melly Mel, definitely a top 5 artist. Now, this next artist is going to surprise you because, once again, it looks like I'm going into legends and going into people who have not changed their status since the 80s. The next one has crept into my top 5 because of just the level of complexity of his lyrics, and that is Skyzoo. Skyzoo is a rapper that's probably been out for a little over a decade or more, but is an intense lyricist. The reason why I give him the credit that he does is because, once again, he puts together words that you got to think about. So it's not easy. So a lot of people may not like him because of the stuff goes over people's heads, and most people don't listen to rap to think. So he gives you thought within the rhymes. He's giving you ideas within the rhymes. You've got to actually, you're not going to get it all on the first take. So just go ahead and say that right now. If you're trying to get quick, easy listens, this is not the guy for you. But also because what makes him good for me is the fact that I won't get it on the first time. If I can get your whole rhyme on the first time I listen to it, then it loses replay value for me. But I can go back and listen to The Great Debater. I can go back and listen to The Salvation. I can go back and listen to his first album, the one he did with Ninth Wonder. And I can tell you, I get new things out of it every time. So once again, if you have not heard it, give it a listen, but also understand that if you don't get it the first couple times, it may take you a while because he throws the frisbee just that high. But he's definitely a top 5 for me, and I'll debate or fight anyone who wants to say different. So next up, of course, one of the most anticipated rhymers of all time. This album here, Illmatic, was the most anticipated album to ever come out in hip-hop history, and I'll fight anybody on that. Once again, Nas. This album was, of course, a classic, instant classic. Most of us, because when it came out, I was in college. We had about 14 or 15 extra songs on various tapes that were supposed to be on this album, but didn't make the cut. But we heard songs of this years before the album officially came out. Maybe I'm condemning myself for bootlegging, but hey, we had it. But Nas was slated to be the second coming of Rakim, and he lived up to it. So as a lyricist, Nas is top tier. He's had songs that predate other people's great songs. I don't know if people want to talk about, well, Tupac had Me and My Girlfriend. It was about him and a gun. You didn't listen to I Gave You Power. You know, if you want to talk about a person who rhymes a whole song backwards, you're talking about Nas. So once again, that is the reason why he's in my list, and he's top 6. Next goes without saying, Black Thought. If you know anything about lyricism, then you understand the impact of a Black Thought. What he's doing now, what he did back then in the early days of the Roots, but he's been consistently putting together top tier bars ever since he's came out, and can do it on a whim. So if you understand what he's about, then I don't need to even debate or to explain this one to you. But Black Thought, definitely in my top 10, he's number 7. Of course, next is one of my favorites, been out for a little over a decade or so, Joel Ortiz. You probably may know him as part of Slaughterhouse, and if you only got to know him during that time, then you actually caught a late pass. But he's been doing it for a very long time and doing it at a high level. Has a lot to say, can tell the stories, can flip the rhymes, can do the multi-syllable thing, but he can put together also the content too. So definitely take a listen to Ortiz. The next person, of course, is one of my favorites too, out of Detroit, Royce the 5'9". Once again, if you like Eminem, he's almost like the cool or soul version of Eminem. So the content is there, the flow is there, the complexity of the lyrics are there. You also remember him as part of the Slaughterhouse, so you probably catch that too. But dig deeper into a lot of his newer stuff, and go check out the bar exam and see if he can ride on other people's beats, stuff like that. He's tough. Number 10, and this is for hardcore lyricists, MF Doom. If you don't understand MF Doom, take your time. You got Apple Music, you got all this stuff. Go back and take a listen to it. But also sit down and really dissect and hear what the brother got to say. Once again, complexity of the lyrics, the content, everything else that goes along with my criteria, he fits it and he makes that work. But definitely check him out. Definitely a top 10 of mine, and pretty much an underground favorite. Those who really know and understand will probably put him in the top 5. The next are my honorable mentions. Once again, if you've been in this thing long enough, you understand that I could actually go on and on and on, and then provide you the actual songs definitively that support these artists. But my honorable mentions are LL Cool J. From the first album to now, he's consistently did it. You give him slack about being this love guy, whatever, but he's been able to put together a lot of good songs and a lot of good lyrics. Most definitely. Even the live performances unbelievable. Fonte, if you understand Little Brother, Fonte, Foreign Exchange, he's consistent. The content is there, the complexity is there, the thoughtfulness, the grown man rap is there. Of course, Big Boy and 3000, of course, Outkast is there. You've got to be able to know that everyone, thinks highly of Andre 3000, but Big Boy was also there too and held his own. You have to consider that. Of course, Big Pun, Lord Finesse, the Bronx, Crooked Eye out of the West Coast, and my last, of course, Pharaoh Monson. And once again, all of those can easily be argued to be in the top 10. So that's the reason why I said I can't just put anything to a top 5, because it would be impossible. I just know too much. I guess I'm too old. So one of the things you may criticize again, and I'll now take this, you may say that my top lists are a lot New York centric. Well, it's because I focus on lyricism, and I came from an era where a lot of the top lyricists during the time that lyricism was important, which is about anywhere from 86 to about 90, came out of that era. So, but I do have some people like, of course, Big Boy 3000, Crooked Eye, Royce, who did not come out of that, but they kind of flow along that line and they get respect along that line. So those are mine. Once again, give me yours, and I'll check them out and listen to them and give them respect. Give me your criteria too. Talk to y'all later.